Opportunity crops. It's too wet to farm, so while waiting for everything to dry out, Crow shoots woodies over lucerne. Putting up quail and not putting up with Packham, I'm off to Malta to see how the spring hunt's getting on. We've got news, we've got hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. We have filmed Andy shooting over, adjacent to and in the middle of lots of different crops. Wheat stubbles, peas, beans, fallen barley, lupins and this week for the first time lucerne or alfalfa.
It's grown for silage for the cattle. There's a few acres of that and it's just getting going. It's just kicking into gear now and they're on the fresh leaves that are coming. It's similar to clover.
Normally at this time of year Andy would be hard at it on the farm, but it's been wet, 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 and it means many farmers are behind. Certainly on the soil he's got, levitation is the only answer.
Everyone's in the same boat. I'm getting behind with spraying. I'm happy with where I am with the fertilising, but as for the spraying, I'm way behind with that, and it's just too wet to go out there. You could go out on air ground with a hovercraft on that heavy clay, but up here on this ground, it's clay over chalk and it does drain well, so that is a good thing with this ground. But then you've got the flints to contend with, which smash your machines to pieces. So, but yeah, we get 3 or 4 days of this. Hopefully I'll get flat out and get some work done. Still there's sun coming through here.
The field of lucerne was rolled this morning, which has kept the birds off it. It means a worrying few minutes when we arrive, as there isn't much to get excited about. Now, we have shown this in the past, but if you haven't got much money to spend on decoys, whirlies and things, then you can have success with sticks and wire.
What I'm doing here is going back old school really. If you haven't got cradles, just use sticks. Just put the heads up. I use Hazel. She's a lovely girl. Yeah, just cut them to length. You can even put them right the way up through the body. Or just put the heads up. Some with the heads up, some heads down. You can either put it right under their chin or go right up through their bodies. If it's really windy, what I tend to do is have it up through their bodies, break their wings, and then they blow in the wind. Like that, have them like that, and then they tend to blow in the wind.
You don't have to spend a fortune, Crow, then, if you're starting out in pigeon shooting?
No, of course you don't. The only cradles I used to have were the ones I made myself. A bit of net, maybe a whirly, and half dozen real ones, and just made a hide, and as I shot them, just cut the sticks and put them out as you shoot them.
If you're going to invest in a whirly, there's a good chance it'll last. Just imagine how many rotations Andy's whirly has completed in a 20-year career.
I can remember Michelle bought me a couple from UK Shoot Warehouse years ago. They were doing a deal, buy one and the other one was half price or something. So yeah, so she bought me a couple for Christmas many years ago. That's when she loved me.
And they're still going?
Hey?
And they're still going?
They're still going. So's the marriage.
So is she.
Yeah, she's still going. So are the whirlies.
Two barrels for that, Crow. What's going on?
I shot right at the right hand side of it. He'd come round and was going straight. Oh, schoolboy error. Should have let it straighten out.
Good girl. As well as the shot cam on Andy's Blaser F16, we've stuck a GoPro on Rosa. The crop is not deep enough for a dog to be essential, but it's vital experience for when the crops stand tall, and Andy hates not picking birds. Lucerne is used as an animal feed and is not a crop Andy grows himself.
You get out in Essex, they grow a lot of it out there for horse haylage. I know several people that shoot out there and they said they never get good days on it, but no, they prefer this. There's more protein and more goodness in this than there ever is in a bit of rape. So once it starts growing like it is now, that's why they've moved in on it. I did intend on shooting rape today, but that's really shot on in the last 3 or 4 days, and they've moved off of that, so I've moved over onto this. So.
Is that what most people would be shooting over at the moment? Would be rape?
Yeah, really, calendar-wise, they should be shooting on drilling. Because it's been so wet, everyone's so far behind. But yeah, they're shooting on backward bits of rape, and yeah, and just the odd bit of drilling that's just starting to go in. Well, there'll be a bit done the next couple of days. But the thing is, the old ash buds are just starting to burst, and they'll be getting on those soon too. So.
Just as he suspects, things pick up at 4 o'clock. They come from every direction, and there is some good sport. Andy changes chokes as he feels his pattern is too tight for the closer woodies.
So just to make that clear, what did you start with and where you've gone to?
Right, I started off with my normal chokes.
So a quarter on the top and half an inch in the...
And half in the bottom. They were a bit tight. They were coming in a bit, and I didn't want to blow in the piece. I was hitting them pretty hard, so.
So what's skeet in comparison to those two?
It's pretty open. It's quite a big pattern. It's not so dense. That look lovely. It's good fun here. They're coming from behind. When we first got here, the wind was from the north, and as the afternoon's gone on, it's come round. Now it's virtually in our face, so everything's coming now is coming from behind. So. They're making good birds.
We often hear Andy talking about replacing both plastic decoys and old real bird decoys as soon as possible with freshly shot birds. Well, here's the difference. The fresh bird just looks sleeker.
Everything's better. The white is whiter. The grey on their back is totally different. Beautiful bird. Given me a lot of sport over the years. Hopefully a bit more. Well, that one won't. What's true in it, David?
As we start thinking about packing up, Andy gets all CSI on us. Crop stuff inside. There's a definite feeding timeline.
In the bottom of his crop we got lucerne. So he's gone on the lucerne, first thing. And at the top of his crop, the last thing he's eaten, ash buds. Broken up ash buds. That's why it's not so easy to make a good day this time of year. Because as soon as the buds start, they start getting on the ash. You've got cherry there just coming into flower. Well, the flowering buds are coming out, they're beyond those. And most of these pigeons here, I've been feeding them as I've been picking them up, most of them are empty. But this time of year, where it's mild this time of year, they don't, it's not like when it's cold, they've got to get something in their crop to digest through the night to keep them warm.
After a slow start, we have about 70 birds, a tired fox red Labrador, and the hope that the fields are now eventually drying out. Farmer Alfalfa there, and someone who's equally Richard Scarry, it's David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. Top shooting nations for gold medals at the Commonwealth Games are India and Australia. Wales is third in the table, England 6th, Scotland 7th, Northern Ireland 9th and the Isle of Man 10th, equal with Canada. The number of medals won by home nations 10% of their entire medal haul, embarrasses the 2022 Birmingham Commonwealth Games, which has dropped all shooting events. Birmingham's decision is thought to be political. City officials are ashamed that Birmingham dominated the world's gun trade for 2 centuries and has its own gun quarter. Following pressure from the government, Birmingham may reverse its decision, or the government may find a Commonwealth shooting competition at Bisley to run alongside the Birmingham Games. As the tick season starts, seasoning may stop ticks in their tracks. In a series of experiments, researchers at Bristol University tested turmeric oils on ticks in the lab, on dogs and in the wild. They found it was better than available insect repellents, although it may reduce your stalking success. Basque North has teamed up with a local youth charity to put on a celebration of the shooting community. It held an evening of fine food, competitions, raffle and auction lots at a hotel near Newcastle. The evening included the Basque Shoot Simulator, sponsored by Longthorn Guns, dinner and dancing. Nice moves. Thanks to Al Gabriel for the report. The Chinese are enthusiastically taking up feral pig hunting in Texas. An outfitter that translates as Joy One World is offering 11-day holiday packages, including gun practice and both night and helicopter hunting, all for around $20,000. The Chinese are also increasingly making the 3-hour plane journey from Beijing to Vladivostok to go hunting in Russia, and some are going as far as Africa. Banned but tolerated across most of China, hunting is a luxury activity. Our Mandarin version of Fieldsports Britain remains popular on the video site Youku, with 130,000 subscribers. And finally, oil is good for woodcock. Birds returning to Europe and Asia from the UK encountered strong easterly winds last week. This picture, posted on the North Sea Bird Club Facebook page, shows them breaking their journey on the Tartan oil platform, which lies midway between Aberdeen and the coast of Norway. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stuck in stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. Now I'm here in Malta. Let's have a look at how the Maltese are fighting back against the Antis.
Quail, such a small bird, and it seems so unlikely that it's able to find the Mediterranean island of Malta. Yet it does, twice a year, and on both occasions it makes for exciting shooting. With my host, Lucas Mikalev, I head for the cliffs where many of the birds will land.
They're coming from the northern coast of Africa, that is Libya, Tunisia, and hopefully with the correct winds. Obviously, migratory birds always tend to find themselves the most easy way to migrate.
And you're not very happy with the wind, are you? It's
No.
the wrong direction.
At this part of the island, presently it's not.
The following morning, Lucas and I go out to look for quail to shoot with local shooter James Galia. We get a couple of points. There is some sign of quail, but the wind has not changed in our favour.
But I was happy with the point. I was happy because the orange and white pointer is just 9 months old, and actually this is the second time my setter has been out, so you could have seen a really good backing with really good style, and that really thrilled me off for this morning, for this quite damp morning, because he's showing true potential like his father.
James has been out every day of the 2018 season so far, and he has not seen a quail. Meanwhile, Sicily, just across the water, has seen both good quail numbers and good turtle dove numbers. You won't hear about hunting in Sicily in the news, but you might hear about Malta. BBC TV presenters are trying to keep Malta's spring hunting season in the news because they want Malta to ban shooting. They're getting desperate. Speaking in the European Parliament, Chris Packham recently accused the Maltese government of corruption over shooting.
I can say the reason for that is corruption within the Maltese government. The hunting fraternity there is a very powerful lobby, a significant numerical lobby. The government needs those people on hand, and as a consequence they pander to them. And they pander to them to allow spring hunting to continue.
The Maltese are not impressed by Packham's comments.
Disgracing Malta's reputation with lies and instigating complete lies.
People from Europe and from wherever trying to instill their culture onto us, which my colleague who is in tourism and he's a CEO says it's a neo-colonialistic attitude. So why?
If he came to the island having accused the Maltese government of corruption, would he face arrest?
Could be, but I think there are more important issues going around than Chris Packham.
Government ministers do their best to be diplomatic.
We welcome all personalities, all citizens from around the world who visit our country, and we also take note and value their opinion also with regards to hunting in Malta. Obviously, one must point out that the situation on the ground has improved a lot. We'll have hunters that are, the vast majority of hunters abide by the rules, and also our government has ensured to have a specific unit that takes care and tackles hunting seasons, and also we have a very rigid enforcement and rigorous enforcement system.
I think if all the hunters wouldn't even go out shooting, the 2 or 3 poachers which do the damage will still do it.
It is easy for Packham to forget that Malta's hunters won a referendum on spring hunting in 2015. Back on the Quail Day, and we leave James's ground and move to Lucas's own patch.
Our area where I hunt, it's more inland. I was quite surprised because there was a lot of mist in the morning, as you could see. We just got some time to let the mist go off, a bit of sun, so the vegetation would be a bit dry. It's more easy for the dog to pick up scent, and in fact after 15 or 20 minutes we got a scent, and we had the dog point on a quail, and fortunately I forgot one. Immediately we're obliged to report our catch, which is a live system at the Wild Birds Regulation Unit. Every mobile phone number is allocated obviously to an individual who has applied for a special license a couple of weeks ago. And obviously they would know the number of quails hunted per individual and the national quota itself, which is 5,000 quails.
How many quails do you know have been shot so far?
Roughly, to my latest update, it's around 200 quail, something about 200 quail.
And how many days left in the season?
5 days now, 4 days now. It's the concept of going out in the morning and trying to push your luck. That's, I think, the interesting part of it. I mean, if you release some game birds and you go there and rapidly you could immediately find some game birds, I think you would start losing interest. And the emotional part has to be left there. I think how we hunt, our tradition has got a lot of emotions in it.
He makes it sound easy. Quail shooting on Malta is an art that has its own musical instrument.
These are traditional quail calls. They used to be made of leather. Now we use rubber as well, and the special bamboo stick that is hold and cut to perfection in order to make a specific sound. This one has a couple of years in its lifetime, so I'll just give you a small example.
Now, I've kept quail, and that is an amazingly accurate
Thank
sound.
you. I thank the creator of this, who obviously must have had a lot of trial and error to be able to get that. And this is a more modern call for the turtle dove. Go. Electronic bird callers are illegal and completely prohibited by the nature directives, particularly the birds directive. and so we go to traditional calls that you can use manually and use in the way that you see.
These calls are in a museum of hunting in the centre of the island in the Busquet Gardens, themselves planted by the Knights of St John as a hunting ground. Exhibits in the museum include bird traps as well.
It's to lure the birds. If you are trapping, you see, when you are trapping, you would have the bird sitting over there. In this case, a turtle dove, I would say. You see, and to lure the other birds to you so that you can trap them, you just sort of flip it like that. And you see the birds would, fly, try to fly anyway, and then it would attract the other birds so that you can trap them. And of course, if he is a trapper, he wouldn't use the gun. He's just trapping. So you've got the trapper and the hunter. If you are shooting to eat. If you are trapping to keep, not to kill. You see, this is the difference.
Another great hunting tradition on Malta is dog work. The island that brought the world the Pharaoh hound for rabbits has its own bird dog.
Well, it's the Maltese hunting dog. Maltese called Kelta Cacciata Malta. It's an all-purpose dog, to tell the truth. They're very good retrievers, very good flushers. They don't point or set.
So what are you looking for? What do you want out of a dog like this?
Mainly the size has to be small to medium. Well, they're very energetic, like you can see, but they have to have long ears, pinkish nose, very short muzzled. This is the main color. Well, that's the only color that's accepted. It's more like an orange with orange patches on white coat. Great character. When we arrived, you could see the dog was looking for attention. All of them adore cuddles. So unfortunately, because the genetic pool is a bit tight on the island, we've seen some genetic defects. Fortunately, as we're working on a stud book, so eventually we can get the genetic lines, trying to eliminate more and more the defects that there are. Mostly it's front leg defects.
Okay.
They get the incorrect angulations, and we try and not breed those dogs, so we get a strong genetic line for the future generations. The dog is not only being seen as an identity of the Maltese Islands by hunters, but also by dog lovers themselves.
Another breeding programme is designed to send Packham packing. The Maltese are allowed to shoot up to 5,000 turtle doves a year. Around 2 million turtle doves are shot each year in Europe, and probably many times that number in Africa. This year, the Maltese hunters, alone in Europe, have voluntarily agreed not to shoot any during their spring hunt. And they have set up a turtle dove breeding programme.
What we are doing, which is probably the only, I would say, tangible project that Malta can do. I mean, we don't have the turtle dove breeding in Malta, so we can't provide places where it can breed. We haven't destroyed certain hedges, which other countries may have done, and we don't have anything else that we can do. So what we are doing, you may say it's a compensatory measure project. In that we are breeding turtle doves in captivity from different breeders, so that you also have genetic diversity, because in captive bred birds you need that, and eventually we release the offspring.
This is something that's taking place on another Mediterranean island, Cyprus, where it is such a success the rules on hunting are even being relaxed. And that benefits a British company I caught up with at a recent gun show.
Last year they lifted a ban on using rotary machines and motorised pigeons, etc. So we've been talking to a client today who wants to be the distributor in Cyprus of Silosox and the rotary machines that UK Shoot Warehouse produce, which is the ultralight and the hyperlight.
As far as you're concerned, Cyprus is a great shooting nation.
It certainly is. I've been there myself, yeah.
Oh yes, let's nail one more Packham myth about the effects of the spring hunt.
Chris Packham says there aren't any tourists coming to the island, is that
Yes,
true?
we stated it from the very first beginning. Funnily enough, the National Statistics Office annually they publish their reports, and numbers they just keep on going up, so it's on the other way around. We get around 1.5 million tourists annually now, so.
He even tries to claim that game meat is bad for you. All that remains is to eat our quail.
So that's wild quail, set on spinach with bacon, marinated with carob syrup as well.
It is, of course, delicious. For more about the work of the FKNK, visit huntinginmalta.org.mt.
Now from Malta to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, it is Hunting YouTube.
This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. First up, Serval Channel serves up one of its excellent roebuck stalking films, this one in Croatia. More deer, Zubtek takes a beautiful 14-point red stag during the roar or rut in Poland last year. In this film, Matt Winter and a mate go into the Marlborough backcountry of New Zealand during the red roar this year and carrying a longbow and a compound bow. This is part one of two films. THLR.NO is low crawling for deer in Long Range Blog 255. Always learn something from Thomas. Another educational film, this time from County Deer Stalking, which is stalking with a rifle with iron sights. This film has been poked and prodded in the stalking forums. Its maker, Peter Jones, says before you write in about backstops, a crucial part of any safe stalk, please bear in mind that it's not always possible to have the cameraman in the same spot as the shooter, and therefore a perfectly safe shot is not always portrayed by the camera angle. Onto the boar now, and NZ Wild Things celebrates Ryan Carr's last pig hunting adventure before he heads out on a 7-month round-the-world fell-running gig called the Skyrunning World Series. More boar and an interesting idea for a film, lots and lots of trail cam images that resolve into a high-seat opportunity for Waffenland TV. And finally, Seven Valley Ratters brings out Mayhem in the Bales, Episode 4, 265 rats killed. Meet the new pack members Dottie and Bramble and see them enter to the sport of, well, definitely somebody in the royal household. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the I symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv.
Well, that's it for this week. If you haven't done so already, please pop over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. You can click to like us there on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, and you can even pop your email address into our register page, and we'll contact you about this show, Field Sports Britain. It's at 7 p.m. UK time every Wednesday. Plus, you can go to our shares page, fieldsportschannel.tv/shares, and you can invest in us. I'll see you next week. In the meantime, it is good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.